You are listening to The Michael Lodge Show. Wealth, business, and taxes. Oh, yeah, and some politics. Let's get started.
So here we are, you and I, cup of coffees. At least I hope you have your cup of coffee. I have mine. I had to resort to French coffee today only because I ran out of pods for the Keurig. So I had to make a mess. You know, those coffee granules, they make such a mess. But I did it, got my cup of coffee, got my creamer. I'm a happy-go-lucky person. I always am a happy-go-lucky guy. Listen, over the last few days, I have been talking to you guys about the economy, about inflation, about business. And I've got to tell you that I'm really quite concerned because we currently have a president that has no idea what he is doing. He is up every morning, at least I think he's up, I'm not quite sure anymore. But his administration is up creating new ways to do more harm and damage to this nation's economy. We are running out of gasoline. There are some gas stations that are having to shut down because they don't have enough supply. And on top of that, the gasoline prices have soared tremendously. And you and I know it because we're buying gas at the pump. And it's like putting a college tuition into a gas tank. So we're in trouble at the moment because of the policies of President Biden. Shutting down pipelines. Remember, a few months ago, we were energy independent. We were fuel independent. We were not having to buy gasoline and oil from other countries. Now he shut that all down, and now where are we? I mean, we are in a mess when it comes to the economy. We have inflation on food. We have inflation on the goods and services that we purchase now because everything is going up. And let me tell you, when taxes go up and when the cost of fuel goes up and when all of this stuff goes up, who do you think has to pay for it? It isn't the federal government. It's you and I. It comes out of our pockets, wallets. My wallet, I've just put my wallet on the counter because there's nothing in there anymore. That's how sad it is. We have a president that has no understanding of what an economy is. He's been in the Senate for so long, and he has not done anything in all those years that he was in the Senate. He didn't do anything while he was vice president. So we are going back really to the policies of not just Biden, but we're going back to Jimmy Carter. I want you to go back with me because I know a lot of you are so young that you didn't go through this stuff. Jimmy Carter was president, and we had a big-time issue then, too, because his economic policy was stinkeroos. It was bad. So this word came up during the Carter administration called stagflation, which means everything was stagnant. Nothing was moving except upward. The economy and jobs was not moving. It went upward. And you're noticing this now in last week's jobs report where we failed miserably. And it's due to Biden's policies on unemployment and attacking a pandemic that is so totally stupid at the moment that we can't even believe Fauci and what he's saying. But let's go back to stagnation. This was a terrible time. I remember during that time, I was in Palo Alto, California, and I was working for a prestigious company there, right next to Stanford University. This stagflation made me stand and sit in line. I had to run up to to the gas station during my lunch hour and sit in a line, and sometimes I wasn't even able to get gas. I had to leave the line because my lunch hour was over. I remember that very clearly, and how the prices were up and there wasn't enough. I've lived through this before with another Democratic president. So what am I trying to say is that, listen, we have gone through this experience before. And it took us a while to get out of it because of very bad economic policy decisions. And when you have a president who does not understand the economy, who does not understand how companies see things and how they hire people, based upon government policy, sometimes that gets put on pause. The hiring of individuals gets put on pause. I do not know if the full truth of why people are not going back to work because they're getting paid more in unemployment. I don't know if that is 100% the whole issue. I don't believe. Because we went through this with Obama, because we did not know what he was going to do. So when you went around to the Chamber of Commerce meetings and you talked to other business people at that time, they said, we are on pause. We are not hiring any more people. We are not buying any more capital goods or equipment that is going to help our businesses. We are going to limp through the years that Obama is in place. And that's what was going on. That's why you saw nothing economic. You did not see a strong economic growth during the Obama administration because businesses were on hold. They didn't know how they were going to be attacked next. And at the moment, we don't know what Biden's going to do next. We already know that he wants to raise corporate taxes and business taxes. We already know that he wants to raise capital gains taxes. We already know that he wants IRS to become more involved in monitoring our bank accounts. And he wants to work on that $15 an hour minimum wage. So do you think that a business is going to hire any more people when they have no indication of what's going to happen in the next few months with this president who has no understanding of what the economy is all about? So I have my doubts whether or not it's the unemployment amount that's being paid to individuals that's holding them back from going back to work. I believe that companies are at the point where they're not going to, even though they've got the job openings, are they really going to fill those job openings because they're uncertain about what this president is going to do to them as a business? I was in the same boat in the time that Obama was president. We hired no new accountants. We hired no new tax specialists. We just took on a higher load in what we did. So when we talk about this unemployment situation, a lot of it is because businesses are uncertain about what direction this nation is going. So they're going to pause because they know that their taxes are going to go up. And let me tell you, at the moment, in my business, I cannot raise my fees anymore. Individuals still are on a very low fixed income. And some of the competition out there is lowering their fees too. I see it every single day. I saw one guy that was way, way down there. And I was wondering, how is he even staying alive? But the issue back in Obama's time was we did not know what was going to hit us next by that administration. Same philosophy today with Biden's administration. He is talking about all of this stuff, and he has packed his infrastructure bills with so much nonsense that goes into debt, and they're going to have to borrow more on that whatever that trillions and trillions of dollars he wants to spend, when only 5% of it is really going to infrastructure. And as you saw yesterday, It was a cyber attack on one of our oil companies, pipelines. He really doesn't care about that. In fact, his administration said that's a private industry situation. So he doesn't care about that because he hates oil. He hates the very stuff that gets us to our work. He has this Green New Deal political agenda that won't do anything for this nation. It just will not. And he's promising all of these new jobs. There's no new jobs in there. None whatsoever. Just a second. I need a swig of coffee. I tell you, coffee's so good, isn't it? When you drink some coffee, you just sit back and you relax. You take a deep breath and you pretend that you're on a beach someplace. But then you got to come back to reality and talk about inflation. Damn. Life is a bitch, isn't it? But we have all these issues that businesses are looking at. And if I was to advise a business at the moment, I would say, hold off on hiring anybody. We don't know which direction this government's going when it comes to business or the economy. We don't want to raise our costs because we need to conserve cash at the moment. We need to really sit on some cash to make it through this issue of a bad economy and a bad economic policy that's coming out of Washington, D.C. I mean, I know it sounds like a fatalist, right? You're just preaching nonsense, or you're preaching scare tactics. But I'm not really talking about scare tactics here. What I'm talking about is surviving. And the best way for businesses to survive when you don't know what the direction the government's going is to hold off, hold back, and do your own planning. What can and can you not afford at the moment? How much cash do you need to put in reserves to cover you through any type of higher taxes or any type of inflation? How are you going to plan for that? In other words, as a business, what is your ability to do? Can you hire some more people? Do you need to hire some more people? Do you need to replace those jobs that are sitting there idle or empty? What is your ability at the moment? I think that takes some good sit-down planning with your senior managers and also board of directors and say, okay, what should we do? Because we don't know what's going to happen with corporate taxes, with business taxes, with minimum wage issues, with in fact, there's also the issue where Biden wants to bring back the Obama mandate on insurance and everything. So we don't know what's going to happen because of a bad economic policy from the President of the United States. So we just hold back. Just slow it down. Take a good look at what your possibilities are. Can you make it through high gas prices? Can you make it through possibly bigger and larger taxes placed on you? Can you make it through if there's a mandate to go to that $15 an hour wage thing? Can you do automation to take away some of that $15? I know that's going through your mind. Okay, I'll automate. There's a whole decision-making process that you need to go through within the next 3 weeks or 4 weeks. As a team, as a company. And kind of look with your CPAs and your accountants out there in which direction that you need to go. Do you slow it down? Do you pause? Do you put a pause button there until the economy is strengthened? If it will be, we don't know. This could last us 1 year, or it could last us 4 years. So don't think of this as negative, what I'm saying. I'm just saying we are much smarter than the government. You and I are much smarter than the government, and we know what we can and cannot do. And we have to live within those means of what our ability to make it through this next 4 years. or 3 years now. No, 4 years. We still have, 3.5 years. Listen, we are really smart business people. And in our households, we're even smarter. I tell you, the moms who are the CEOs of these families, they know what they've got to do. And they know that they've got to become very conservative, put their budgets together, and make sure that they're able to survive 2021, and then start planning for 2022. It's a yearly planning process. And I encourage each and every single one of you, if you have not sat down and put together your budget, where you literally have your budget amount and then comparison to the actual amount, do it. Listen, if you want to go to my website, I've got a free budget spreadsheet there that you can use. Just go to www.lodge.co.com and click on Business Advisory, and down in there you will see a spreadsheet that you can download and you can use it. It's very simple to use. Even I can do it. Well, probably because I put it together and with some help, but listen, it's probably one of the best things that you will find out there that can help you. Just in a simple Excel spreadsheet, work with it and see what you can do. Start planning. Do your planning. It's very important. Businesses too, you need to be looking at this on a monthly basis. And if you're not utilizing your accountants more, start doing it, because they can help you with this. We have an uncertain time that's ahead of us, but if we're smart, we'll get through it. Now, I don't know what we're going to do about the higher gas taxes, and also not just the higher gas taxes, but the higher gas prices, but also the non-ability of gas stations not being able to provide gas. We're seeing it across the United States at the moment. We are smart people, and we're going to make it through this. We just need to do better planning. We cannot count on the government to make good decisions, because what's coming out of Washington, D.C. and out of the White House now is crap. You might as well just go out and put it on a compost pile and help the compost deteriorate even more. That's what's happening. Even Janet Yellen of the Treasury Department, she cannot really say what's going on because the administration doesn't want her to say anything, but she slips it out every once in a while where she's saying that interest rates probably do need to go up to stop inflation. The only problem with that is that then trickles down to us, because when interest rates go up, it comes back to us. The other issue, I was looking at an analysis that was done on lumber for homes. You know that home prices have had to adjust their prices upward because the price of lumber has increased so dramatically. A deck that used to cost $200 is now costing $3,000. That's how bad the lumber prices has got. And again, it comes down to what? Biden economic policy. I wish, if only I could, say something positive about President Biden's economic policies, but I can't. Because every single one of them attacks you and me and our businesses. If we own businesses, it attacks us. I just don't see anything positive that he has done. Now, he's taking claim to this vaccine stuff, but all of that was put into place in the last administration. He just tagged his name onto it, and it's been working well. But the issue that he has is that the messages that he's sending out and that Dr. Fauci is sending out confuses the American people, and now we don't believe anything that they say. The policies that they have put into place in state governments around the United States, who has literally shut down the state economies, shut down jobs and shut down businesses, shut down restaurants, and all, we can go through the whole list of shutdowns. Did so much damage to the American people that people are saying, just because Fauci, remember at the very beginning, Fauci said, no one needs to wear masks. Why are they wearing masks? You don't need to wear masks. It's not going to do anything for you. And then he changes his mind and says, no, you need to wear 2 masks. So the American people sit back and they say, what kind of an idiot is this guy? And then we find out throughout this whole pandemic that the numbers and the data that governments have been using has been tainted, lousy, dirty data. And they have been manipulating the data. So I believe that the only way to get through this pandemic is open everything up. Let us get back to life. We know what we need to do health-wise. We know that we need to build up our immune systems. We know that we have to do a whole bunch of things in order to stay healthy and capable of continuing on with life. We know that already. Opened up the churches. I wrote this morning, I'm so frustrated with the church that I decided to attend here in Palm Beach. To this day, they're still shut down. They have choir members out in the pews to make it look like it's filled up. In Bethesda by the Sea, I just don't understand why they don't open up. The Catholic Church just a few blocks away is fully opened up. They have masses going on, and everything is good. But Bethesda by the Sea decides, no, we're going to keep things shut down. We're not going to let God's people back in. Because we trust government more than we do God. We have more faith in government than we do God. That's what that church is really saying when they keep their doors locked and don't let the people back in. And that's what all of the churches out there, if you're still closed, if your church is still closed, how much faith do they really have in God? How much faith do they have in the people that they minister unto? How much faith do they have in faith? We have a lot of things to think about. We have to remain calm, and we have to remain steadfast in doing what is right. And if we do what is right, we can make it through anything. Presidents come and go. Governments come and go. The philosophy of the United States comes and goes. I mean, it goes up and down and sideways and forwards. We never know which direction. But we do know that if we do what is right for the American people, if we are respectful of our nation and what we stand for and what we have stood for from the very beginning, and that is freedoms and liberties, and the ability to do anything that you want to do in this life, in this country. We keep believing that. And we keep endorsing it. And we live it. The other day, I had a friend post a video on his Instagram account, and as I listened to it, it was of this white man hanging his head low, saying, I know every day that when I get up, I have privileges. I know every day that I wake up, I have a white privilege. I think about that every day. That was his message as he hung his head low. I'm sorry, but I do not believe in that one bit. You and I, we struggle every single day. No one hands us anything. You and I have done a lot of things on our own without any help of anybody else because we had to in order to survive. There wasn't any privilege out there that said, okay, I'm white and I get a step up above everybody else. No, it never happened. That wasn't even in our thought process. So for a white guy to be feeling guilty for being white is nothing but political racism. Because he feels that he needs to now bow down to the calls of Black Lives Matter, to the calls of Antifa, to the calls of extreme rioters. That the reason why they're rioting is because of what he did. And the question is, what did he do? Sometimes people bend over and they take it in the backside because they want to make themselves look as if they are to blame. They're the ones who want the attention for saying something that appeases the other side. Sometimes people are just plain weak. And they get involved and they begin to believe the theories of racism. Because it's the political thing to do. Political politics is not the same as racism as when I grew up. When I grew up, we saw and we felt and we heard and sometimes we even smelled racism. Sometimes as I grew up, I remember seeing the individuals who were the most racist individuals in the nation. Individuals who would stand in front of a school and not let black children into the school. A black woman who stood on the bus and would not get off because she wanted her freedom. And she did the right thing. Saw the civil rights marches through the streets. Black men getting hung on the tree by racists. That's racism. When the black individual cannot use the same bathroom or drink from the same water fountain, that was racist. I saw it. And here we are. We have individuals, black young children in college, trying to segregate the blacks from the whites. Saying it's too white in here. And ask them to leave. We have Black Lives Matter, who is corrupting the streets with crime and riots and pillage and everything else because they want a message to go out there. And it's not a healthy message. Is there racism in the United States? Yes. Is this systemic racism? No. You see, racism can only be resolved by letting other people grow. Racism can only be solved, or not even solved, because it will never be solved, because human beings will always have this stupid thought process of, I'm better than you. But the only way to make it better, to allow people to grow is through communication and through discussion and through talking about issues and working on those issues. Black Lives Matter, their issues has nothing to do with racism. Theirs is a pure political issue. So what has happened is that because racism has become so political within the political parties and also on the street with rioting organizations like Black Lives Matter and Antifa, you've got this new political racism that has nothing to do with racism. And it's out there every single day. You can see it, you can feel it, you can watch it on television, you can see the videos. And you say, this is not about racism, but it's about a political racism to use against other people. So that white man that stood there and was apologizing for his white privileges had been pressured mentally into bowing down to political racism. So many times I have said on this very podcast, I said, if you want to sit down and talk about racism, let's do it. I want to do it. I want to hear the stories that you have lived through racism. And if you want to do that, send me an email at info@lodge.co.com. Let's arrange a time that you and I can sit down over coffee or tea or Coke, and let's talk about that issue. But you see, the only way that you can resolve it is by you and I getting involved in the communities that we live in. Bringing the dialogue forward instead of backwards. That's the only way that we can resolve these issues. Because there is a lot that you and I can do to make our communities better. We won't make it perfect, but every single day that we work on it, we can make it better. And you and I should not be fighting over what the politicians and what the politics of groups are trying to put through. But let's sit down and talk about the real stuff and not about the political stuff. Because the political stuff is nothing but spin and a spin of nonsense. But if you want to sit down and let's talk about it, I'm more than willing to do that. And that should be your invite to other people out there. Within your churches, within your groups, within your organizations that are within your communities. That's where you should be having that discussion and finding out what you can do to make your place better, your community better, your families better. So don't fall for this political racism anymore, because it is nothing but nonsense and nothing but a way to divide. And I'm tired of me being on one side and you being on another side. And we're divided by political racism, but we should be talking about the real stuff, the nitty-gritty. So stop the divide. Put those people out on the streets. Let them do their nonsensical stuff. But you and I are adults. I posted a thing today. And I said conflicts because since I'm a mediator and I mediate conflict every single day, I put a blog out on social media today, and it stated this. It said, conflicts are easy to solve. The problem is that we're not adult enough to sit down and listen. So mediate it. And I've offered so many times on this podcast, if you want me to sit down and mediate an issue within your communities, I will be more than happy to do it. I won't even charge you for it. Because I truly believe that the communication process that we use is the very method in which we resolve things. But if we are unwilling to listen to each other, and if we're unwilling to take notes and to ask questions and to put things on the table that can work, then this political racism is going to take over and nothing will ever be solved because of the politics of it and not on the human side of it. We are better at this. We are smarter at resolving issues. We are smarter at knowing what our communities need. Government needs to stay out. I was amazed yesterday because there's a conflict going on in Israel. And Israel told the U.S., don't get involved. Don't get involved. We will handle this ourselves. Within our own nation, within our own community. We will handle this ourselves. Why? Because they don't trust Biden. They don't trust his views on Israel. The question is from the Israelis, is Biden really even a friend of Israel anymore? But the focus of that is that they were focused on their nation, on their community. And that's the same as you and I. We should be focused on our communities that we live in, that we participate in, that we go to church in, that we send our children to school in, that we have memberships in various really good organizations out there that help the community. We need to become better at that. So that is my podcast for today. I believe in you, and I believe that you and I can do so much without the help of government because we're so much smarter. We are brilliant. We are not politically bound. And that's the way we should be. Tear down that wall. Stop letting these individuals divide us. Let's sit down over flapjacks and let's talk it out. Listen, this is Mike Lodge. Listen, if you like my content, go to www.buymeacoffee.com/Michael Lodge. If you have a question or a comment or you want to say anything, just send it to info@lodge-co.com. Everybody go out and have a great day today. Remember, Monday is Memorial Day, and that's the day that we remember. This is Mike Lodge. Talk with you soon. This podcast is produced by Michael Lodge, fully focused on content.